Hey, hey, talk to me. Talk to your boy. I'm not gonna get what I want, but hopefully somebody happy by the end of this trailer. I think Lei is a good possibility. Just please do not be Marduk or Fahkumram. I'd take damn near anyone else. Bruce, Armor King, Lei, or even a newcomer, like a completely new character as well. Wait, no, we're not getting that one till later, right? I forget the order of but they said. All right, come on, talk to me. Talk to me now. Talk to me now. Oh, shuck it, duck it now. I'm hype. I'm hype. Please don't disappoint me. I have hope for the future of this game. I just need this DLC to be sick. Oh man, they fucking debated us with the goddamn World Tour trailer first. Alright, bruh. Alright, bruh. Are we gonna get to see that new Pac-Man stage or whatever? This song go kind of crazy.
Your luck is run out.
That's gas. That's gas. I know people don't care about costumes and shit like that, and the last thing people are worried about are microtransactions with the game in its current state. But wait, what the fuck? I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. But you know, I ain't mad at it, I guess. Oh, yo, I forgot about the tiger costume. Okay, old Dragonov. Yo, show me Tekken 4 Jin with the white fit. And Tekken 4, matter of fact, just add all the Tekken 4 costumes. Okay, you know, well, whatever. Yeah, there's the Pac-Man. Hey, it's kind of sick. Hey, I was gonna say, are there still gonna be stage interactions? Of course there are. I kind of like it. I kind of fuck with it. I ain't gonna lie. The stage look kind of lit. Are they gonna hit us with the all right, that's all, and then walk off stage and then come back and then oh, one more thing, like their grandpa from Jackie Chan Adventures, and then hit us with the character trailer? That's cool, I guess. I don't really be in the fight lounge ever, but man, I mean, they've been saying all the right things, and you know, things look promising for the future of this game with the update that we're getting next week and then the one coming in June. Hopefully those are really good and a step in the right direction, because I want to be excited for this game, man. I'm down for like the merchandise and stuff and costumes and all this extra content in the game. Character time? So like, this is all great. This is all great as long as we get the game in a good state with these future patches. And before Devil Reina. Is that Fahkumram? Boo! Boo! Oh my god. I did not hear the crowd cheer for that at all, by the way. The numbers can't have told them that like people really like Fahkumram like that, right? Like I know he got played a lot competitively because he was broken. But like Anna and Fahkumram to kick off season 2. Oh. All right, let's talk about this whole Fahkumram situation, okay? I think the way this video is gonna work is that I probably put like my initial reaction and everything at the beginning of this video, and then this will be the second half is me talking with you guys, because I have some thoughts, some opinions, some feelings about Fahkumram being added to the game, and kind of just about the way Bandai Namco and Tekken has been handling DLC in general. And I was reluctant about whether or not I'm doing this reluctantly, and I was hesitant and indecisive about whether or not I was even going to, because I feel like so many videos that I've made lately are just like negative, and I'm trying my best not to be like pessimistic or negative or anything like that, but I'm also trying to call things as I see it and like be as objective as I can. And also I know people ask for my thoughts and my opinions on these things, so I kind of feel the need to share it to some degree. And so suffice to say that I'm not a fan of Fahkumram. I'm not looking forward to him being added to the game. I'm not hyped or excited for him at all. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not inherently a bad thing, right? Every single DLC character doesn't have to be catered to me and my interests and my taste. I don't have to enjoy every character. I don't like every single character that's in the Tekken franchise, and I'm never going to, right? Fighting games would be boring if I were a fan of every character, or if every character was catered toward me. You know what I'm saying? You want a variety of archetypes and fighting styles and play styles and moves and designs and everything like that, because people have different tastes and interests. You know what I'm saying? You want to appeal to as many different people as possible. So Fahkumram not being a character that I like isn't necessarily the issue. It's more so about everything he represents and the problems he's likely to bring, and some other things as well. So let's get into it. So Fahkumram was a original character who was added in Tekken 7 as a DLC character, and he was not well received. Or maybe he was, depending on how you look at it, right? Because the character, when he released, was incredibly overpowered. He was insanely broken, one of the strongest, if not the strongest character in the game when he released. And so you saw him play it a decent amount, but for all the wrong reasons. Not because, oh, he's such a cool and interesting design. It was more of like a whole Leroy situation where it's like, oh, this character is just so incredibly overpowered, we just have to play him. I don't know very many people, or anyone at all, who's like a fan of this character. I know people are a fan of Muay Thai, so they like the fighting style. And of course, obviously, because again, different tastes, opinions, interests, whatever. I know there are some of you out there watching this video who actually are like excited that Fahkumram's coming back and like the character, but I think he was like our introduction to a lot of what we see now in Tekken 8 with the string mix-ups and the guard breaks and everything. And he was kind of like the antithesis to what a lot of people consider like real Tekken or true Tekken. I think he introduced us to a style of Tekken that people have been pretty vocal at this point about not enjoying or not liking. And it's no secret or no surprise that the majority of like high level or like top level competitive players are not looking forward to this. They didn't want to see this character. And that's what bewilders me even more, is that I think he was incredibly unpopular and like not well received by the majority of the community. The only reason why he got played a lot and had a decent usage rate is because of how powerful he was, not because of how cool of a character people thought he was. And I'm not sure what numbers or data, whatever they looked at in order to, pick him as a DLC character for this game, or, I don't know what went into the decision-making process of adding him to the game, as whether it's because they just want him to be a recurring character if he's going to play a role in the story at some point, or whatever the case may be. But it seems odd to me that they would pick him as a returning character over a legacy character like a Bruce Irving, who people have been very vocal about, Lei Wulong, who's a staple, who isn't in the game currently, Armor King, of course. Me personally, I would like to see Kunimitsu, because I was a big fan of Kunimitsu, but even she would have been problematic in her own way that we'll slightly touch on in a moment. But yeah, this just seems like a very, very underwhelming, unpopular pick that has been mostly negatively received by everybody that I've seen speak on it or talk about it. And there are a few outliers on Twitter because, of course, again, I understand that everybody's going to agree, but the overwhelming majority seems to be disappointed in this pick and not a fan of this pick. So I don't really understand why they went with it. And it also kind of makes you wonder about whether or not the original leaks back in season 1, remember that was going around, people were saying that Marduk and Fahkumram were going to be the next 2 characters or whatever. And then they kind of pulled a fast one on us, you know what I'm saying? And we ended up getting, what was that? At that time, that was Heihachi, I guess, or was that Lydia Heihachi, or was it Heihachi Clive, whatever the case is. We didn't get Marduk and Fahkumram. If that next character is Marduk, one, I'm going to be, again, disappointed and upset. Well, not upset, but like disappointed and whatever. But also, I guess it confirms some things, right? Because there were some data mines a while back that like located like their country of origin and their fighting styles and stuff and whatever. Anyway, so here's my other thing, right? Not only is this character unpopular, not only did the crowd like not pop off at all, not only have I seen mostly negative feedback and responses to the reveal of this character, this is going to be one of the most underwhelming DLCs for the game for sure. But also, season 1 was already very, very underwhelming in my opinion. I think I've gone on record to say, but I haven't really gone in depth about it. I think season 1 of Tekken 8 DLC wise, like that season pass was pretty garbage. If I'm gonna be straight up, I think it was pretty bad. So first character we get is Eddie. Legacy character who frankly probably should have just been base roster, and they did this in Tekken 7 as well, where Eddie wasn't originally going to be in that game, and I think Lucky Chloe was meant to be like the Eddie replacement, even though their styles aren't the same. Like Lucky Chloe's not doing capoeira, but kind of like the dancing, fighting kind of thing, and Azu Sena obviously does that well in her own way, so similarities to there to some degree. But Eddie wasn't originally going to be in 7, and then they added him in, I think, in one of the versions before the game like fully officially launched or whatever, right? And so he wasn't the base roster. But in 8, he wasn't there, much to the surprise of a lot of players, including myself. They had him as DLC, which was like, okay, they gave him a brand new design, which also came with some very mixed opinions that were very polarizing, particularly when it comes to the hairstyle. I made a whole video talking about it. But you add Eddie, and it's like, okay, like at least it's a character a lot of people want, so it's hype and exciting just because he wasn't there. People want him there. It's like it makes sense to add him as a DLC if he's not going to be in the base roster, even though he should have been. Then you add Lydia, who was one of the final DLC characters in Tekken 7, a newcomer to the game who, if she's gonna play a role in the story, if she's gonna be somebody who's reoccurring in these games, like to me, it just made no sense whatsoever for her to be DLC and not be base roster. And I'm not trying to be super entitled or anything like that. I'm like, I understand that not every single character can just be base roster in the game. There's going to be DLC, there's going to be microtransactions. That's not lost to me. I understand that, right? So I'm trying very careful to not be that way, because I see that type of behavior and attitude all the time, and I'm certainly not one of those types of people. But Lydia, for sure feels like a character like she should have just been on the base roster. It feels kind of scummy for her to have just been sold to us in the previous game and then immediately sold to us again in the first season on a brand new pass. And like, the character's cool. We just paid for this character in the last game, so why are we immediately paying for her again? And then you add in Heihachi, which again, legacy character staple. Like, I get it, you killed him off in the story, he's dead, he's not coming back, and then surprise, he's actually coming back, which that whole bait and switch was probably like planned from the very, I mean, it was obviously planned from the very beginning that we're killing him off just to bring him back, probably for the sake of selling him as a DLC character, because obviously Heihachi is Heihachi, he's beloved, he's a Mishima, he's an integral part of the story, he's been there since the very beginning, and you know, everyone's gonna go crazy for him. Like, I understand the business aspect of that as well as the story aspect and everything like that. Logically, like I get it all, it makes sense, but it does feel cheap in some way when you think about it. And then you get Clive, who, I understand everybody who's a huge Final Fantasy fan and a huge Final Fantasy 16 fan and played that game, they think the character is cool, and a lot of casual people think he's cool. I'm not a fan. That's just me. So overall, it's just like, okay, character who should have been base roster, character who should have been base roster, character you killed off and left off the roster specifically so you could bring him back, and then guest character. Cool. Now we're on season 2, and you bring back Anna, who again, you left off the initial roster. There was a huge outcry and fan demand for her. You added her in, I think also in season 2 of Tekken 7, and then you do the same thing again in Tekken 8. I get it, Anna's not incredibly popular, so I can understand to some degree why she wasn't base roster and you add her as DLC again in some capacity, because she's got like this super hardcore cult following that's very passionate about her, and they always want her to be in the game. So cool, boom, you add her in season 2 with one of the worst patches I've ever seen in any game ever, and she embodies a lot of what is wrong with the game. And then the next character you reveal is Fahkumram, who again is a character that you just sold to us as DLC in the previous game, and is also an embodiment of everything that's wrong with Tekken right now, and was a precursor to Tekken 8 and was the pioneer for a lot of the shit that's like wrong with the game. Because personally, I'm somebody who feels like guard breaks shouldn't even be in Tekken. The string mix-ups that are overtuned and have way too good tracking and stuff like that are in the game, I feel like he's, you know, helped pioneer some of that. And it's just like, and I understand there's some hypocrisy involved with my stance and my statement, because I really like Kunimitsu, and Kunimitsu was just a DLC character, and that's what I was saying, that she's problematic in her own right, not only because of her, you know, her strength or play style or whatever. We can touch on that in a moment, but again, like obviously I have my biases and things that I'd let slide because of my own personal interest. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, full transparency on that. If Kunimitsu would have been revealed, I would have been hyped and ecstatic because I want that character, but I don't think that would have been nearly as poor of a choice. I understand I'm biased, but the stuff, I mean, and don't get me wrong, she had some stuff too, like with the you know, with her mix-ups, and also with like her command dash and the kunai throw, and you know what I'm saying, I'm trying my best to not be overly biased, even though I know I clearly am, right? But I just think Fahkumram is such a worse pick. Obviously, I have a lot of hope, not a lot of faith, but a lot of hope that these upcoming patches are going to do wonders for the game and put it in a much better direction, and that Fahkumram doesn't just come in and like muck that all up and just, you know, have us take one step forward and 2 steps back. You know what I mean? Because that's also a trend that we see in fighting games sometimes, and in other Bandai Namco games specifically, where the game gets changed in a certain way, certain tools, mechanics, or, you know, abilities get removed from a character, and then a DLC character comes along that has those same tools that they just took away from the other characters. So I don't know, there's a really weird and not so subtle trend of DLC characters being released in fighting games and then being very overtuned, and then after, you know, they've made their money off people like buying these characters, then they get dialed back a little bit. We've seen that a lot actually. But yeah, man, I just think like almost any other character. And here's another thing as well, right? There are some people who will be like, oh, well, any character that they could have picked would have gotten a negative reaction. People were going to be mad no matter what. You can't please everybody. And I agree. No matter what character was shown, whether it was Kunimitsu, like I would like, Armor King, Bruce, Lei, whoever. I agree that there's people who would be upset, but I genuinely believe that Fahkumram, especially considering the current state of things, is the absolute worst character they could have picked. It feels very tone deaf. It feels like it's not catering to the majority of the audience, and I guess it's not necessarily wrong to cater to a niche or specific group of people who may not have you know, a certain representation or whatever. But I just think, like, all things considered, this is just kind of like the absolute worst pick that they could have done, because I think Armor King would have been better received, Lei would have been better received, Bruce would have been better received, like literally almost anybody, you know what I'm saying? And Kunimitsu may not have been as well received, but I know I would have been excited, as you know, as those other ones. But I think she would have been better received than Fahkumram. And yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I know this is like a really negative video, but I just kind of want to share my thoughts and my opinions, my feelings, my perspective on Fahkumram and why him getting added to the game is like not hyper exciting for most people, and myself included. And you know, hopefully he's implemented a lot better this time around than he was in 7, but I don't have that faith. I have that hope, but I don't have that faith. So, you know, did a lot more yapping and rambling in this one than I thought I was going to, but hopefully it made some sense. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already so you can stay tuned for all that content I'm bringing you. With all being said, that's pretty much all I have today. And remember, nothing can happen to you, swing the bad. Later.